The most scary creatures I've seen ever are creatures that have a bit of humanity in them. Look at Alien, look at Predator. Those are like iconic creatures. There is a bit of an anthropomorphic shape to them. They look fairly human. Those are the most fascinating creatures. My first reason to come here was to discover creature making and being part of a creature shop and learn how to build those things. I'd seen a magazine called Effects, and I remember looking at this thing, I said, man, there's people making a living doing creatures every day. This is insane. I have to be there. So what I think I truly am is I'm a conceptual artist. I'm someone that come up with visual ideas, except I wasn't satisfied with this. I didn't want to do a drawing and then leave. I did this a couple of times. I said, I want to build stuff.
He's very much dreamer, artistic, creative. That's what he lives and breathes.
The job of a designer is not to come up with his vision for a movie. It is to extract the vision of the director.
I tend to be more of the nuts and bolts. All right, we have this much time to build it. This is our budget. How are we going to orchestrate all these little elements and play this little chess game so when it's done, we have cool stuff to roll in front of the cameras.
The designer sort of splits his work in many, many foreman and very important people, which you never hear about when you watch a movie, because they're way back in a credit list. Those are the people that just achieve what the designer thinks about.
It's a parasite.
There was a concept there that I'd never explored before, creating transformed human that turn into something that's adapted to the cave. It's actually a very interesting thing. It's almost like creating an evolution in some ways, the way things change.
Every cave organism we've discovered so far originated on the surface. Over time, they've adapted. Lost pigmentation and sight, developed a heightened sense of hearing and smell.
We may have discovered the primeval creature that has evolved in total isolation.
The script will give you an idea where it wants to go, but a lot of that creature development happens with us because the guy who's writing the script only is suggesting things. He might not have an idea what the creature even looks like. He just knows it's a thing, it's in a cave, it flies, it's had some bat qualities to it, but that's as far as he's taken it. And then we'll just rip through the script for every little clue.
The mole is the largest animal we've seen in this type of system.
Our friend here does prove there's an abundant food supply. Question is he at the top of the food chain or is there something else?
It's not like, hey, Patrick, here's a script. Give us a call when the creatures are ready. It's not that, because the director comes with his influence, the things he wants to see.
Okay, people, take only what you need, but keep your dive gear.
I read the script, it's in my mind, and then I just let go loose for a little bit. You need to come up with a form, something. Then you look at that form and you read the script again and you say, okay, does that work? The first pass is a very simple little sketch on the corner of a napkin, if you may. That design is essential. You take this and then from there, you now have a challenge.
There were some general ideas where it was going to come from, but as far as an actual look and design of it, really hadn't been established. We knew that at its core, we wanted to have a guy in the suit for all the close-up work. So that was the only real boundary that we gave ourselves was, we have to work within this human form. We want to hide it in an effective way. And other than that, the design was up for grabs.
You safe, Charlie? Charlie.
As is often the case, it's easy to start stuff out in 2D and draw it out. And translating that over into 3D is usually where the difficulty comes in.
A maquette like this is never quite exactly what the final product will be. Ultimately, this is a first tool for everyone. It's a tool for the studio to look at what the creature looks like. It's a tool for the director to move it around and get a sense of what he can do with this. It's a tool for the CGI guys to start creating their CGI creature. Then you start thinking about the skin texture. Okay, the creature's got a great look now. It looks like it's human. The human limbs are in there because I knew they were human, so they have been integrated in the original design. But then they're in caves, so they should be pale, because the pigmentation has changed on this. Then you start thinking about the adaptation. Okay, we played with something, maybe the brain, you can see the brain from the outside. It's in between those big skeletal thing. And so it needs to be protected. So the skull has to be built in such a way that, okay, the brain is out, but somehow there's a shell around it.
Part of the thinking was, That's where evolution would drive this creature. It would always be kind of forefront in these little cave holes, and all these little limbs would kind of let it crawl around through the tubes of the caves. All the little whiskery bits would kind of help it sense where it's at and feel. Right now that we know what our look is going to be, here's the guy we know that's going to be the performer. Let's adapt all that to his form, and that's a big part of the process. So we'll do tests where we'll do some quick mock-ups just to get a sense of proportion, thickness, bulk, where we want to add, where we want to take away. And on a small maquette, you don't necessarily see all that. It's not until it goes on to the man who's going to wear it that you make all those final choices.
Well, the wings to me, for our project though, is a cool thing because we had gigantic caves. Wings is not the obvious choice. When you live in a cave in a small corner, I don't see why you would have wings down there. If you need to escape, you don't need wings. But the fact that Bruce told me I want gigantic caves, then it started to make sense.
They fly! They freaking fly!
It's a creature of flight. So much like a bat, these things would be slowly sort of devolving away. You know, when you're flying around all day, you don't need these to support you. You might use them to help bounce yourself, but the wings and these front arms are really what's motivating this creature around this underground environment.
But when you have a creature that's about, 10 feet wide, it's hard to travel in caves. So we knew those wings had to fold in such a way that the arms and the creature had to be narrow. They could be long, but narrow.
What we have here is one of the actual cave creatures live. This is one of the stunt suits that actually survived the shoot. And as you can see, it's a fairly non-human formed piece. But as you see it here, our performer, who was Brian Steele, his arms actually fill out into here and have extensions on them that allow it to go down to the floor. His head actually lives right about here in the creature's neck area, provides all the gross head movement there. We took the initial design, just said, where could we go in there and give it life? Where could we go in there and make something perform within it? So we opted to go into all the soft tissue areas of the mouth and make that all the animated parts. So these outer teeth flare out and flare in. There's actually two jaw structures here. There's an internal jaw and an external jaw. They both move together, and the external one moves independent of the main one. This upper palate drops in and out from the inside. And then within here is the little sonar sort of hammer things that would be equivalent to what we'd have up in our ears. Little inner ear piece, but his is up here, so it'll resonate up into this cavity in his crest.
They're watching us. They see with sound, and the steam is confusing them. They took one of our rebreathers, but they've left us alone since. They're waiting on something.
There were more right behind us.
We should get in the water now.
There's a lot of thought we put into it. I don't know how much the audience notices up front, but the hope is that it's kind of all sensed and felt at maybe a subconscious level when they see it. To get to that final place where you have this amazing object that's ready for this crew to film, and everyone, producer, director, Patrick, the audience, all has to be happy with that design when it's done. And that's always the challenge. And again, you hope that shows through in the final piece.
That's the achievement. The achievement is not about my display room upstairs. For me, it was just, one way to step away from everyday's reality. It's not truly the monster or the creatures that are important, more than it is to come up with something you don't see in the street every day, something fun.